10 years ago, the Iraq War began. We were told it was necessary to get rid of Saddam's weapons of mass destruction, WMD.
The weapons of mass destruction program is not shut down. It is up and running now.
Tony Blair assured us the intelligence was beyond doubt. In fact, it was anything but.
What appeared to be gold in terms of intelligence turned out to be fool's gold.
He has existing and active military plans for the use of chemical and biological weapons, which could be activated within 45 minutes.
Did he say that he'd seen the weapons?
No.
The Iraqi regime has plotted to develop anthrax and nerve gas and nuclear weapons for over a decade.
There was an atmosphere of, we've got to find something.
Very bad intelligence got to the leadership very quickly, but very other intelligence just didn't make it.
We can now show how much of the key intelligence was based on wishful thinking and lies. Why did he fabricate such a story?
I think he wanted to find a new home.
Faulty intelligence fabricated by spies like this man pressed the button for war.
Our guy called me on the secure phone. He said he's fabricated. He said, I believe this is all made up.
The Iraq War was based on lies.
The source was an eyewitness. He actually was present during biological agent production runs.
Were you present then?
We have first-hand descriptions of biological weapons factories on wheels.
There were no mobile trucks.
No.
You were simply making it up.
Yes.
Tonight, we reveal how British and American intelligence got it so wrong. The fact is that we went to war in Iraq on a lie, and that lie was your lie.
Yes.
The spies who fooled the world were telling Downing Street and the White House what they wanted to hear, that Saddam had WMD hidden away somewhere deep in the desert. But just 6 months before the invasion, there was one piece of intelligence that could have stopped the war. The story begins in Paris. The source was unique. The closest Western intelligence had ever got to Saddam, a minister in his cabinet. French intelligence held the key. The key was a trusted intermediary who'd worked with the French before and who knew the minister well. The French decided to give the key to the head of the CIA station in Paris, Bill Murray.
I was told that the source was considering leaving Saddam Hussein's regime and trying to get out, and that he had a great deal of intelligence that he might wish to share.
How highly placed was the source?
He was one of the chief members of Saddam Hussein's cabinet. So he looked like a person of real interest, somebody we should really be talking to.
French intelligence put Bill Murray in touch with the intermediary, an Arab journalist in Paris. What did the intermediary ask you for?
$1 million up front.
The sum demanded was huge, but so too was the potential value of the source. He was Iraq's foreign minister, Naji Sabri.
We shall defend our land, our people.
I gave the intermediary up front a sum of money. I won't say exactly how much.
Bill Murray gave the intermediary $200,000. In cash?
In cash, to be used to pay his expenses, to show that we were serious, and also to provide some personal items for the source.
Did you personally hand over the cash to the intermediary?
Yeah.
In what, in a suitcase? Or brown paper envelope?
I don't remember, to tell you the truth. Probably a paper bag.
We finally tracked down the intermediary in Paris. We understand he denies receiving any money. His name is Nabil Moghrabi. He wanted 10,000 euros for an interview. We said no. Bill Murray gave the intermediary questions for the Iraqi foreign minister. Top of the list was WMD. The intermediary met the minister in New York 6 months before the invasion and only a week before the British government published its dossier which made the case for war. Bill Murray received the answers to his questions, and a secret sign was devised to show the source, Naji Sabri, was on board.
The intermediary had had a couple of suits tailor-made for the source, one of which he wore when he gave a speech at the UN. That was part of the agreement to confirm the relationship between the intermediary and the source.
So when you saw the source, the Saddam cabinet minister wearing his new suit, what did that tell you?
That was my new suit.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hereby declare before you that Iraq is...
It told me that, yes, they're telling me the truth. They really have had the meeting and, you know, they've passed the materials.
The American officials have been fabricating...
Murray couldn't meet the minister, so the intermediary briefed him on what Saddam really had. The CIA insists the intelligence showed that Saddam had WMD programs. Murray says his report was used selectively.
He had some chemical weapons left over from the early 90s, so he had taken the stocks and given them to various tribes that were loyal to him. He had intentions to have weapons of mass destruction, chemical, biological, and nuclear. But the report was very clear about what he actually had at that point in time, and he had virtually nothing.
Were the British informed?
All of the intelligence that we had was being passed to them. So I had to assume that they knew about it.
We asked Naji Sabri for an interview, but he declined. In a statement, he said the entire story was totally fabricated. He confirmed he had met an Arab journalist in New York, but disputes the account of the meeting. The Bush administration simply dismissed this secret intelligence from Iraq's foreign minister on the grounds that he would say this, wouldn't he?
They were not happy. I was told they were not happy.
Why not?
They just didn't believe it. I was told that the biological weapons information didn't square with the information from, quote, our best source. It wasn't until later that I heard about the history of Curveball.
Curveball, the code name of American intelligence's best source. This shadowy figure was to transform the intelligence on WMD, an Iraqi refugee with first-hand evidence that Iraq was producing deadly biological weapons. The story he would spin began at the Zerndorf refugee camp just outside Nuremberg, Germany. He arrived here at the end of December 1999, desperately seeking asylum as a refugee from Saddam's tyrannical rule. We finally managed to track him down in a small German town. His real name was Rafed al-Janabi. In fear of his life, he disappeared from view, seeking anonymity and security.
My dream was not only my dream, but the dream of many Iraqis, to see Saddam Hussein out of power in Iraq.
Al-Janabi's details were placed on file at Zerndorf, but as his background aroused particular interest, he was interviewed by German intelligence.
The man told me they've heard you are a chemical engineer and this concerns the asylum office and the German government.
This is the first television interview that the head of German intelligence has ever given about Curveball.
It was very difficult to get inside information at that time from Iraq. It was very important for us to have a human source who has been engaged in this program, and therefore it was a very valuable source.
They didn't know whether this guy was a liar or he is telling the truth. And if he is telling the truth, then there is a serious problem.
Years of UN inspections prove that Saddam had lied and concealed his lethal chemical and biological agents. They'd been manufactured in giant vats or fermenters like these. This agricultural seed factory is where Curveball said he'd worked.
I worked at the site for about 7 to 8 months.
This, at least, was true. Political asylum and money were on the horizon. He told his German interrogators with sketches that he'd been involved in developing mobile biological laboratories with fermenters mounted on trucks.
They gave me an opportunity to say what I wanted. A lot of the information which was given to German intelligence was extremely detailed, and they verified this information.
German intelligence gave the Americans over 100 top-secret reports on Curveball's case. The Americans wanted to meet Curveball face-to-face and make their own assessment of his credibility, but the Germans steadfastly refused.
He told us, I don't want to see the Americans. If he is not willing, really, to meet the American side or others, then we have to respect it.
The Germans were telling us he doesn't like Americans, he doesn't speak English, he only speaks Arabic and German, and he only wants to talk to Germans.
But there was another reason. The Germans concerned the Americans might overplay Curveball's intelligence.
We were in a delicate situation. We don't know what the Americans will do with the information. We can't control that any longer. So the decision was quite clear. Give them our level of information, but not direct access.
Towards the end of 2000, Curveball's story began to unravel when the Germans realized that Curveball had lied about some parts of his story. Satellite imagery confirmed these doubts. Photographs contradicted Curveball's description of the site where he'd worked near Baghdad. He said that large trucks with trailers had been driven in and out of the end warehouse, but satellite images showed it would have been impossible for an articulated truck to make that maneuver. What's more, there was a 6-foot wall in the way. Curveball's duplicity was well known to his former boss and close friend. Each had been to the other's wedding.
We were together for a long time. I knew this guy is a congenital liar. A congenital liar.
Why do you say he was a congenital liar?
Because he's always making stories. He's a spy, he's a con man. He's a disaster for worldwide, not for Iraqis.
After a year of interviews with Curveball, German intelligence decided to terminate their regular meetings with him. At the beginning of 2001, Curveball was out in the cold, flipping burgers at this fast food outlet near Nuremberg. But one seismic event was to change everything and place Curveball center stage once more.